What do you know about boxing? They'll tell you it's about some guy having beef with the other guy and him hating his guts. But do you want to know what it's really about? What do you see? A kid from the UK doing his duty to pound this psychopath in the face? I see a stadium full of fans, 20 different kinds of merch, 4 diss tracks, 2 full-length documentaries, countless sponsors, and a pay-per-view livestream that pulled over 750,000 concurrent watchers. Each viewer paid $10 to watch the fight, and since this started, they've accumulated a combined total of 3.5 billion views on YouTube. And when you're pulling around $5 per 1,000 views, you can buy enough soft serve ice cream to fill 10 football fields with a layer of chocolate peanut butter that's 6 inches deep. And that's what this event is really about. No, not the ice cream, but the money. Anyone that tells you otherwise is either in on it or stupid. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel for the very last video in this Logan Paul vs KSI trilogy. And real quick, thank you for 50,000 subs. If you're new here, subscribe and join the community. We'd love to have you and I really appreciate the support. But right now, we're going to be talking about the absurd amount of money that these two YouTubers will be making all the way up until their rematch in February. Sure, they made $8 million alone on the people watching the live stream, but when you factor in all the merch sales, YouTube AdSense, diss tracks, sponsors, and everything else, this is going to add up to one heck of a payday. Hey Kurt, you want to set up a fight and make some money?
I don't know, man. My schedule looks super full of lots of important stuff right now.
What? What are you doing right now? Are you watching anime?
What? No, why would you say that?
Okay, so it looks like I won't be fighting anytime soon, but lucky for you because you don't want these animated hands. Like I was saying, Logan and KSI made way more money than anyone actually thinks they did, and we're gonna figure out just how much they're going to make, as well as play around with a little conspiracy thoughts on how rigged this fight actually was. Like a draw? For real? That doesn't seem a little off to anyone? Not to mention the fact that all the bets placed on either Logan or KSI actually winning the fight ended up losing all their money to the betting site, which, if you're looky here, they seem to be sponsoring the event and putting the money right back into these boys' pockets. Something fishy going on? You tell me. So stay tuned until the end of the video because it's gonna get juicy. First, let's take a look at these ticket sales. The event was held at the Manchester Arena, which holds 21,000 people for a boxing match. They had a few different choices on where to sit. You had the ground floor seats for around $220, and then 2 separate tiers that were both around $120 a head. And on top of these, there was a VIP ticket package you could get for $670. This makes the average ticket price sold for $278.50, which is pretty crazy considering that's really close to what UFC fights charge for tickets. We multiply this by the capacity of the arena, and ticket sales equate to $5.8 million. In the contract, it was agreed upon that 10% of the revenue from the ticket sales would be used for production costs. So let's go ahead and deduct a hefty $500,000, which leaves us with $5,263,650 made just from tickets alone. Holy cow, that's a paycheck. Next, let's look at this pay-per-view live stream. The fight came around and 800,000 people were watching live. You might think that's a lot of money. Multiply those 800,000 people by $10 each and you've got $8 million on top of the $5.2 million they made on tickets, but some sneaky people ended up watching the fight on Twitch. And by sneaky people, I'm talking about 1.2 million live viewers. As in, they just lost $12 million from illegal streams. $12 million. YouTube AdSense is up next, and like we all know, if there's one thing a YouTuber is good at, it's boxing. Nope, drama. It's definitely drama. Yep. And these guys put out videos left and right, taking shots at each other and calling names and making that AdSense money the whole time. And since KSI first called Logan out, they pulled a combined total of 1.85 billion views. Chances are both of them have fairly high CPMs, but let's just say it's an average of $5 per 1,000 views. And divide their views both by 1,000, then multiply both those numbers by $5. And now we can see that Logan roughly made $3.9 million and KSI made $5.3 million. All these different revenue sources are stacking on top of each other, and we've already surpassed $20 million, and we haven't even gotten to what these two guys are best at, which is selling stuff. This actually leads us beautifully into the next category of merch sales. These two are salesmen more than anything. By being an online creator and being your own boss, you have to come up with some way of making money, which generally in some way or another is going to equate to selling stuff. In the last 6 months, Logan Paul and KSI's merch site traffic have respectively been 1.9 million and 750,000 unique viewers. And let's say not everyone that visited the site actually bought something. Let's say only 7 out of every 10 people that came to their sites bought some merch. And then when you get to the actual merch, there's so many different things people could buy. Pigeon Boy had 5 different fight t-shirts selling for $28 a piece, hoodies for $55, and posters for $20. KSI's merch was a little less expensive with a shirt for $26, $10 for a poster, $7 for a keychain, and only $40 for his hoodie. Let's say the average order price is $50. There's gonna be some people who just buy the shirt, but there's also a lot of die-hard fans purchasing multiple items. And I think $50 an order is a good average, if not below what it actually is. So Logan has 1.3 million sales and KSI has 530,000 sales, both at $50 an order, which makes them $68.7 million and $26.5 million just over the course of the 6 months leading up to their fight. That's absolutely ridiculous. This pushes us through the $100 million ceiling and we haven't even touched the sponsors yet. I mean, the merch alone is an absolute killer. Just look at these numbers. This is nuts. KSI released a documentary after his fight with Joe, and the one video he mainly promoted in got 5.7 million views. Let's say some people watched it 3 times, but most only watched it once. So on average, each person watched it 1.2 times. This gives us 4.5 million unique viewers, and let's say he has an average, if not a bit low conversion rate of 5%. This gives us 228,000 sales, racking in another $2.3 million. Sure, that's a lot of money, but it looks like chump change compared to everything else. Can you imagine that? $2.3 million being considered chump change to you? Maybe I'll make a documentary on filling up those 10 football fields with that ice cream? But first I need that $20 million. Kurt, you sure you don't want to start some beef and box it out in the ring? We can get some ice cream later. Like, a lot of it.
How much we talking?
10 football fields worth?
Why do you need that much ice cream, Mike?
Here, just put these on. Ooh. So it looks like I might be having that boxing match after all. My team's talking with, I don't have a team. If you want to contact me, you can just like tweet me or something. You should go follow me on Twitter at MichaelJYouTube, because how else are we going to become best friends? And then what else do we have? We've got the sponsors, right? There's no real way to tell exactly how much they were paid because all that's super disclosed, but if we look here, we can see that Foot Asylum seems to have KSI promoting them pretty heavily, as well as this nutrition line here. And oh, don't forget the betting site known as Mansion Bet. We're gonna loop back to them in a second though, because there's a chance they had some part in making the fight a draw, so don't go anywhere just yet. But with all these sponsors, we can comfortably say that they made another $2 to $4 million promoting these guys alone. YouTube and Instagram plugs constantly, along with plastering their names all over the ring. And this brings us to $124 million. That's insane. Psst, psst, psst. Wait, what? Oh, right, they're having a rematch. Huh, I wonder why they're doing that. It couldn't be because of the $124 million they made, could it? Nah, no chance, fam. Okay, so the next fight comes up and we see Logan Paul sell 10% more tickets in America than they did in the UK. Ticket sales hit 5.7 million. They end up cracking down on the pirated streams and get rid of 80% of the illegal streams and viewers, but around the same amount of people watch the fight, so we've got 1.8 million watching at $10 a pop, racking in $18 million this time. Let's say they get the same amount of views on YouTube these next 6 months between all the drama and diss tracks, so they pull the same amount they pulled last half. Then another $30,000 in diss track streams, and while we're at it, go ahead and plug the same merch numbers in, except let's say KSI pushes his a little bit harder and hits 30 million this time. All the brands were watching how many eyes were on the first fight, so more sponsors hop on board and they pull 6 million from that. This brings us to a final total of $265 million KSI and Logan will pull off these fights. This makes them some of the highest paid boxers in the world right now, and all they do is make videos for the internet. I can see why so many professional fighters have a problem with them. These two kids dork around online and decide to throw a fight together and pull in that much money. That's like when the basketball coach's son gets to start on the team his first year of high school over the guys that have been working their butts off for years. All the players hate that kid, but that's exactly what Logan and KSI are to these other fighters. Except they make a few $100 million more than everyone else, but that's it, nothing big or anything, you know? The crazy part in all this is they're not even paying True Jordy. What the heck? You're telling me you're rolling in $265 million and you can't pass along 10 grand to the guys running your circus of a press conference and commentating on all the fights for 6 hours? In what universe does that make sense? He said it's fine, he can't complain because he's doing what he loves and he gets to plug himself at the end. But for real, there's this much money at play and we can't show this guy a little bit of love? I'm glad they love what they're doing and they're happy to do it just to be a part of such a great event, but I feel it's wrong on KSI and Logan's part not to compensate them for their time and work they've put into this. It's like the same thing as getting paid in exposure. Yeah, exposure's great and all, but you can't take exposure to the grocery store and buy food to put on your table. Like, it just doesn't work like that. I don't know, True Jordy. I'm glad you're happy doing this. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job at it, but I think they should be paying you for your great work, period. I enjoyed watching these fights largely because of your guys' great commentary of them, so thank you. Now, let's end the video on a juicy note, shall we? How rigged do you think this fight really was? No, Logan Paul and KSI had no part in this. The genuine surprise on both of their faces post-fight proved this. But you know who didn't look surprised when they said it was a draw? This man, the moneymaker, the puppeteer himself, Logan's manager. In order for this to work, Logan and KSI both had to be kept out of the loop. Them training as hard as they could and wanting to actually knock each other's heads off had to be 100% real, and it was. But behind the scenes, let's take a look at what Logan's manager was doing while his puppet was out training with his log. So if one fighter knocks the other out, there's no way to work around that, right? What happened happened. The rematch is still in the contract, they're still going to fight again and make more money. But if both fighters put up a good fight and it's close enough to sell off as a draw, what if Logan's manager and KSI's manager?
Yo, real quick, I thought just for kicks and giggles, we'd take a look at KSI's manager's Twitter and just see if we could find anything because we're building this conspiracy. Oh, what is that? Is that KSI and Logan's manager together in the ring, buddy, ready to make some money? Just keep this in mind while you listen to this next part.
What if Logan's manager and KSI's manager had a meeting behind closed doors with the judges of the fight and their sponsor Mansion Bet and agreed to, if possible, call the fight as a draw so that all the money bet on either fighter winning was kept by Mansion Bet? They would then give a 30% cut of all the bets to KSI's manager, 30% to Logan's manager, and 10% to split between the three judges, and Mansion Bet would keep the remaining 30%. Even if all the money bet was as low as $10 million, all the judges would be walking away with $300,000 apiece, which is easily 10 times as much as they were getting paid on paper. You can literally see Logan's manager look down as soon as they announced the draw, like he was a dog that knew he just ripped up a $10 million couch. A second later, you can catch a sly little smile from him because he knows he's going to walk away with a little extra from this match tonight. And I've got no doubt that one fighter or the other will actually win this next fight. Just to give us some closure, it would almost make sense to have 3 fights. KSI wins one, Logan wins one, and then this huge build up to the tiebreaker to determine the champion. Their story would have much more structure and would actually be satisfying to watch. I think a lot more people would look forward to it, plus they'd make a whole nother fight's worth of money. Like, why not just do that? They'd be pushing $400 million in revenue over the course of 18 months. But who knows? We've got this dumb draw and now we have to wait another 5 months until the next fight. Tell me what you think about the managers rigging this fight and what you do with that much money when you get it, other than the obvious of supporting me on Patreon Blades because everyone has to shave their body. But thanks for making it to the end of the video. Subscribe if you're new here, and I'll be in the comments talking for a bit with you guys because I love hearing what you guys have to say. But until next time, I will see you in the next video. Peace.